listen.
Never in my life associated the word boring with baseball.
We know what's up.
Me? Yeah. Famous? Yeah.
And I'm like giddy over there smiling like, we're about to win this shit.
Did everyone give you crap? Give me a good host story.
I'm not picking it up.
We both love the game.
We talk about it every day.
Getting on baseball.
Having some popcorn, you're fooling around your phone.
I'd have to wait in line for 3 hours.
Hang on, because it's about to be a wild ride.
All right, there's no human being on the planet I'd rather be talking to than Mickey Moniak. That's a fact. It's a fact. Congratulations, man. Congratulations on everything. You're playing really well. And
thank you.
Seem to find a good spot, we had only talked briefly when you were with the Angels, but I really enjoyed talking with you about sort of your journey. And I think this time of year is always a good time to talk about sort of journeys, right?
For sure.
Because the draft is coming up.
Yep.
And I remember, and I've cited what you told me back then about being the first overall pick, about sort of as a blessing and curse thing. But ultimately, it's what you make of your journey, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
I would imagine the lessons that you learn are like crazy, like even in the last year, probably, right?
No doubt. No, it's been like you said. The best way to describe it is a journey. So, obviously, wouldn't trade it for the world. Everything I've gone through, over the last, I think this is my 10th professional season now after getting drafted, and it's been a blessing. I'm extremely grateful for the ups and the downs. The way that this whole career's panned out, nothing's a straight line.
Yeah.
And I think that, for me, looking back, I think, my career is kind of a good example of that. Getting to, get drafted first overall, have that honor, and then had my ups and downs in the minor leagues. Getting a chance to debut at 22 years old, in a COVID season with nobody in the stands is a part of that journey, and it's and then but I mean, still wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
I think then that next year, up and down, 2022, made the team out of camp, broke my hand, came back, didn't fully feel like myself, kind of fighting that rest of the year, and then broke my finger again when I got traded to the Angels, and then 2023 I really feel like was a breakout year for me, kind of the first time where I felt comfortable in the big leagues, felt like I belonged, and he had last year ups and downs last year, and then this year going through a full spring training with the Angels and getting released, and ended up here 2 days later. So it's been a crazy ride.
There's a lot I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the here and the now. Like so you get released by the Angels, you land here and you play well. It wasn't just a matter of this is just how the evolution of a season is, and if the Angels hung on to me, I would probably be playing well for them. I mean, or did you do something different? I don't know.
No, I think, I felt good. I didn't have good numbers in spring training, but I was hitting the ball hard. I felt like, my swing was in a pretty good spot. Not a lot to show for it, but, they felt like the decision for them was to move on, and I was a little surprised. I kind of had it in the back of my head with the whole arbitration thing, that whole loophole happening to J.D. Davis the year before, and the way that our arbitration talks kind of went with the Angels. My agent even mentioned, back in January that this is a possibility,
Oh, really?
just kind of the way things are going. So I wasn't fully blindsided, but definitely, you're not expecting it to happen until it happens, and when it does happen, it's a weird feeling. But it was one of those things where I think maybe sat in the office, got the news, reflected on it a little bit, and then I think maybe a minute later I was already calling my agent, asking him what's next. And Colorado was interested. They'd been interested in me since I was in high school in the draft. So I think. When he told me that this was going to be, kind of the best option, he had a few different offers, but we both felt like this was the best place to be, and so far so good. I definitely enjoy this organization, the way they've treated me, and love Denver, the fans. So
I feel like that you're able to, where you've landed, like I said, right now, you're able to start saying, okay, for all these reasons, right? Health, spring training, opportunity, all of it, you're finally able to say, okay, this is who I am, this is what I can do?
Yes, I think so. I think, last year didn't have the best year, by my standards specifically. Was battling injury most of the year and, felt like I could do a lot more. This offseason got healthy, got right. Felt like coming into the year I was in a good spot, kind of back to where I was, going into 2023. So, I'd proven that I could do it, at this level. I think, for me, there wasn't any doubt that if I could get healthy and have an opportunity to play, that I can kind of prove what I can do and showcase,
Well, when
my
I
abilities.
talked to you when you were the Angels, you were on a heater. Like, you were, like, at the height of your powers.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
Yep.
that was like, okay. And it's another lesson, right? It's no straight lines.
No, God, no.
Right? But I don't know, like, even back then, you were like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I mean, you think, throughout my career, I think I've kind of realized that, you got to enjoy the good times here, because this, like I said, this is my 10th professional season, 6th year in the big leagues, up, parts of 6 years, and got it. Feels like it was yesterday. I was just getting called up, making my debut. So this stuff goes by quick, and this is something that I dreamed of doing since I was a kid, and I think just enjoying the moment. Try not to be too hard on yourself, but at the same time learn from the mistakes and the success, and just put one foot in front of the other and just keep going.
We talked about the first overall pick, and it's interesting to me how baseball has changed with social media, with everything else, right? Mm-hmm. So anytime you have a first overall pick, you have a unique perspective of, like, I know what that's like.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you kind of don't, because I would imagine Travis Bazzana's existence was different from your existence, 2016?
16,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
How do you think that has changed being the first overall pick in the draft? Or has it? Maybe it hasn't.
I mean, when I got drafted, I still had, Instagram and Twitter were still pretty big, and so I think that, I heard it from all ends, on both those. I think, it got to the point where, I ended up deleting both off my phone.
Well, you did.
I only keep it on my wife's phone.
Leading up to the draft?
No. This was
after.
Probably 3 years after.
Okay.
2 years. I remember, everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah.
And with social media, you can hear opinions that you may not have heard without it. So, I appreciate all, the nice things that people have said to me, across social media and stuff, but there's a lot of bad, and that goes with, not just me, but, everybody who's in the public, the public eye. And, I think, sometimes it's borderlines on unhealthy to, be hearing all that. So, with the kids today, I think, God, I don't know. I'm sure it's similar. There's probably more.
I just feel like the Major League Baseball obviously wants to build up the draft, right? More than
For sure.
ever. I went to it last year.
Yeah.
Last couple of years, and they're trying to make it like a mini NFL thing. When
Yeah,
you did it,
that's changed for sure.
You were in Secaucus?
No, I stayed home.
Okay.
So yeah, that was still when they would do the draft in New Jersey, and they wanted me to fly out, but
Well,
I graduated the next day, and I was like, I want to be
Well,
with
they
family.
still don't go. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But the thing is like they're trying to, like, the build-up of the draft is even more.
Yep.
Like, I think. Tell me if you. I know that probably it felt pretty overwhelming for you leading up to it.
No, I definitely think nowadays the draft itself, like you said, they're trying to do it more like the NFL draft and those leagues, and that's definitely a little different than when I was doing it. I think now even if I was getting drafted, in a couple weeks or whatever it is, probably make the same decision. I was pretty stuck on staying home with family, wanted to experience that whole thing with them, and I think a lot of kids are like that. A lot of guys want to go to the draft and do that whole experience. So,
but not a lot in baseball.
No, it's different. I think I don't know.
In chess, I just saw Christian Moore and it was, and he was like, I'm like, oh, you don't want to chest bump Manfred,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's something that personal preference, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know why baseball guys tend to not go, but above my pay grade.
Well, it's just the last thing is sort of like what advice for whoever that is, whoever, I don't even know who it's going to be. What advice would you give that person?
I think enjoy the ride would be the biggest thing. I think, I've got so many friends that I made throughout the minor leagues that are on different teams now playing the big leagues or done playing baseball. And, I had a few of them in my wedding recently. And, we look back on those days in the minor leagues. It seems like a grind when you're in it. And it's, it is. It's, 140 games and taking buses and staying in, not the best hotels and going to random cities across America, which I thought was pretty cool. But, we look back on those days and, we talk about them like we would go back tomorrow just to, relive those when, there was, it was we were a little younger, a little more naive, I'd say. And I would say that, to these young guys, don't be in a hurry. Obviously you want to get to the big leagues. That's the ultimate goal. And just work hard to get better every day. Just enjoy the ride because it'll go by quick.
And next, and as we said, the latest to confirm, baseball isn't boring tattoo when you win a World Series.
I will get a baseball isn't boring tattoo, 100%. Yeah, if I win a World Series, I'm in.
Well, let it be said,
Yeah.
let it be done.